Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you're watching this. We are here to talk about something I've been wanting to talk about for a long, long time, and it keeps on getting pushed back. But I've just said we're doing it today, and we're here to talk about the Steam Deck and how it's it has its positives for cloud gaming, it has its negatives, but I think it is a net positive. But we will get into that. I'm joined by Maker, who has got one pre-ordered as well. We're in the pre-order crew. So, which one did you go?
I went with the one with the max storage, the $650 one, the 500 gigabyte.
The 500 gigabyte. That is the one I have got pre-ordered as well. And I'm looking forward to getting it because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've also got Barry. He has been on the fence about it, but I think the fence, it's getting closer and closer to being.
The fence is falling over.
Yes, the fence is beginning to fall over there. We'll come to that, but you're intrigued by it anyway?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I absolutely love technology, so there was always an interest there from a technological point of view, and kind of seeing the specs. I would have been in the same camp as you, Maker, with the basis of having the extra glass on the display, and then also the fastest NVMe would have been the kicker for me to kind of go for the 512, 500? I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's 512.
512, yeah.
What we'll do is we'll just kick this off for people who don't know what the Steam Deck is. It is here we go. It is basically a Switch like device, but it is connected to Steam, and it is made by Valve. It is much bigger than the Switch. It's fairly substantial, and it has all this funky stuff. It is really, really looking a fabulous piece of technology. I know there's been a lot of people out saying that the controller grips are in a weird place. It's far too big, but the early reviews coming out are saying it may look like that, but it absolutely plays great. It's just so interesting, this, and I just can't wait to get my hands onto it. Well, Maker, what about yourself there? Do you think it's too bulky or anything?
No, well, reading the dimensions, I saw it was a little bit. I mean, it's a little bit heavier than that Switch, which was a little bit of my concern. But I like there's like a groove there on the handles, like you see it kind of curved. I think will be good for like keeping a good grip on the device. I'm interested to see if I'm going to use the back buttons like if that's going to be one of the ones that I use a lot, because I do have a Elite Series controller, Xbox controller, and it has those back buttons, but I don't really use them a lot. But overall, like the quality of it looks pretty good. The specs look good, and that's why I was mostly interested in it, especially since it's running Steam OS, like an actual like PC OS, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, it's definitely. I'm just going to add the bits onto this before I pass it over to Barry. It has got a touchscreen as well, and you see them square bits there on, it is like trackpads, like what was in the Steam controller as well. So there is lots of interesting stuff, and you may notice the OS has been updated as well, and you've got the lovely file thing at the back. So Barry.
Yep. I mean, I think if we're talking about kind of sheer kind of construction of the device, the attention to detail that they've put in, when I look at it, I kind of don't look at it and think, you don't look and think that's an ugly device. I kind of look at it and appreciate kind of almost every ounce of engineering that's kind of gone into it, from when they've got, looking at how they've kind of gone with the durable thumbsticks and kind of the rotations, the movements and everything that's kind of behind that. It kind of really feels like they've not skipped a beat. They've not cut any corners. They've really kind of gone. They've gone all out as best they can. And the trackpads, as you touched on as well, I think they're a cracking little touch to have in there. Super impressive device, and I really like the fact that they've given people 3 entry points. So it's not just like, here's your Steam Deck, it's one size fits all. We've ended up with 3 kind of entry points so that you can kind of make a decision as to maybe what the right entry point for you is. And I like that, because obviously it makes it more accessible maybe to kind of more people out there, for sure.
I wanted to say I do like the options to have a lot of those extra models, because to me, I see if you're not really a super big PC player, the smallest option is probably going to be really good if you want to play a lot of indie titles, because you don't really need a super fast hard drive or a lot of space for a lot of indie titles. Plus, with the SD card support, similarly with the Switch, how you can download games onto an SD card for the Switch, it'll work just as fine. Just having that access to those PC indie games that you wouldn't have on your Switch, I think is really good.
Yeah, as we can see here on this screen, is the availability is into Q2 2022. That has actually been, some of these have actually been pushed back a bit, as some of them were Q3 and they are now back into Q2. If the 512 gig one was definitely into Q3 for some people, so that's good to see that they seem to be getting some more demand. Maker has touched on a great point there. There is a micro SD slot, so you can expand it. I'm just double checking anything else here which we should really talk about. It's got Zen 2 and RDNA and all that stuff. Yep.
I did want to mention it also has a 6-axis gyro, so you can rotate the device around and it'll shift the screen around like you're controlling. Well, where did Duncan go?
He's probably just turned his camera off.
Oh, okay.
I just turned the camera off for a bit. We don't want to scare people. We don't want to scare people too much,
The 40 watt-hour battery is really good, which I believe the Switch has like a 20 watt-hour battery in comparison. And the reason why it's more beefy, so you can run those more intensive games, because it's going to drain a lot more power, when you're running at higher clock speeds with your CPU and GPU.
And as it's worth noting here, it doesn't come with a dock. You can actually add a dock to it as well.
You don't have to get there. They already mentioned you don't have to get the one that they have. I have a USB-C dock that it has like outputs for like HDMI and stuff like that I can effectively use for the device.
Yeah. So this is basically it there. So I have got one ordered. Maker has one, and Barry is trying to resist at this moment in time, and resists pretty badly. As you may know, we are cloud gamers here, and I think this has absolutely tons of potential there for cloud gaming. But there is one wee hiccup. Maker has alluded to this already. It runs Steam OS. So what does that mean, Maker?
Effectively, it's a custom operating system similar to their own version. Like, you can download it on any PC and effectively run it like a PC operating system. You can run multiple different types of programs and stuff like that. It is Linux based, which means you're most likely going to have to run games Linux wise. And they've also said that you can install Windows if you wanted to onto the device as well, and that they're setting it up so that you can do that.
Yep. So basically what that means is you won't be able to play every single game on the Steam Deck unless you install Windows 10 or Windows, whatever it's called. I forget. Is it Windows 11?
11,
Windows 10 right now, but it's going to be Windows 11.
Yeah, I knew the Windows. I thought they were for some reason I had like some weird name in my head, but no, it's just Windows 11. So you can install Windows 11 onto this, and we know that it's going to be free. I'm pretty sure. So there we go. But if you're just playing it straight from the box with Steam OS, you cannot play every single game on it, but you can play the vast majority. So there's nearly 20,000 games reported, and nearly 16,000 of them work. So the vast majority of them work, but there is some notable exceptions. Barry, is there any games that you have seen there which you're a bit maybe it's not there?
I've flicked through this list a couple of times now.
I mean, there's lists down at the bottom where they haven't been officially approved. Those, I believe, they're not officially whitelisted, and those are some pretty big titles too.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually. I mean, the stuff in there like Witcher, Sekiro, Risk of Rain, they would, I guess, they'd be, they'd be standout ones. Hellblade as well. I think that'd be a good one from portability perspective if you've got headphones with you.
To also point out, they also said that a lot of those receive platinum reports. So it looks like most of these will run fine-ish. It's just it's not officially approved yet.
Yeah, and obviously the big one there in GTA as well. So what we're here to discuss is how do we think this is going to affect cloud gaming? Do you think this is going to be a net gain, a net loss, or do you think it's not going to maybe change anything in that regards? Maker, what's your take on it?
I don't think it's going to really change it at all, in my opinion. I think it's going to cater a lot towards the PC crowd, which are already probably pretty hesitant to jump aboard cloud-based stuff anyways, or at least a large portion of their player base. I think a lot of the people that really jump into cloud they might be lapsed gamers, or like they haven't upgraded their PC in a while, which, and they don't want to spend the money to upgrade it. And this would be a good entry point too for those people that, I guess, that might deter some or delay the cloud gaming boom. But I don't think it's going to really affect it that much, in my opinion.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this part, but even with Phil Spencer there over the last couple of days, he has played it, he has done that, and he's actually played xCloud on it with. Do you not think it could become a real good companion, or do you think it's too early for cloud in that respect?
I definitely think I could see it being a companion. I know I will probably use it if Windows 10 isn't easily installed, or Windows 10 isn't, because a part of me wants to install Windows 10 so that I can play my Game Pass, play my Game Pass games onto the device as well. But if I lose out on features like no gyro, no, if the touchscreen might not work perfectly fine going to Windows 10, I might just say, nah, I'll just run xCloud through it. Because if I'm going to lose features or things with the device, I would rather not take that risk.
What about you, Barry?
For me, I think this is possibly where it actually bridges some of the gaps that maybe Maker's been talking about. If you want that handheld device which gives you that portability, and as we've just been running through there's not necessarily all games that are kind of supported. If you've got services like xCloud, and obviously if you've got services like GeForce Now that are then available to you, you then start to have a portable device that is of a more reasonable size, shall we say, bigger than your mobile phone. So you're not going to be absolutely hammering your mobile phone battery if you want a cloud game. You're actually going to have a dedicated device where you can kind of take it and get, you can pick, you can play from stuff in your Steam library. But then if the stuff that that is probably going to push the inbuilt hardware to the kind of to the nth degree of its limits, and you want to kind of be eking more out of it, you can then suddenly then fire up potentially 2 different cloud services. One which is obviously very much probably catered towards an existing PC user base, and then one which kind of brings all of your Xbox games to you from a cloud perspective. And that for me, I think, makes it more accessible to a wider audience, because then it does open you up to actually, well, you've got enthusiasts who want to pick it up, you've got PC gamers, you've then got people who kind of appreciate cloud, your Xbox users. You then start to have a real kind of wide user base who can actually say, well, do you know what, this device is great for me because I've got access to my Steam library, I've got access to this, I've got access to a multitude of that. And we were talking about battery life earlier, and I may be about to steal your thunder slightly here, Duncan, but we were having a conversation about this last week, I think it was, and the comments out there, there were comments out there of people saying that games on the level of Death Stranding, that sort of quality of game, you would be able to play via streaming it for around about 8 hours on the Steam Deck, which is that's absolutely insane.
Sorry.
No, you work away.
So I wanted to do another point. Maybe what you can do is you can play on the Steam Deck for a while until it runs out of battery, and then you swap over to your phone. You're saying it does save battery life from your phone by having a dedicated device for gaming, and I 100% agree. That's what I love about it. Like, that's why I have a Switch, because I don't like that my phone dies super fast when I run mobile apps and stuff like that. So yeah, like you said, it can be beneficial to the cloud. I just think a majority of the gamers are going to be using it for the direct download at this time.
At this time, yes. Where I can see it, I'm just going to be talking about for me for a second, then we'll go on to the wider point. I am already looking at games I want to get for this, so I can play on the go when I'm out places where I don't have a signal, and then go back and drop it onto GFN and just play it on there. Or if it's got cross-platform saves, I can jump onto like Stadia or xCloud as well, because we do know that there's cross-progression coming in a load of games like in Destiny 2. I think there is just a load of actual great possibilities out there for this from a cloud gaming perspective. And with Phil Spencer, I always get them mixed up. I know who they are, but I always get their surnames. There's too many Phils. with Phil Spencer out there talking about this, and already talking about xCloud, and also talking about getting Windows 10 and stuff onto it. It's just really exciting that the cloud is already in the mix of this, and it's already in people's thoughts. Not at the low end like us or anything. I guess this is at the real top end. Companies there. I just want to see GFN and Stadia, and we've already got xCloud is on board with it. Just come out and say, we're going to come out and actually support this, and we're going to allow this to happen. I think we'll be able to play it somehow across them. But with the save system, as long as the games have got cloud save and they're on GFM, which they have to have the cloud save, I think this is going to be a boon for me down the line. For cloud gamers as a big, massive, looking from about 1 million trillion miles away, I don't think this is going to have a big effect short term, but longer term, I think it may do if this starts to take off. Because of the dock, we may see people go, yeah, I'm going to play this, drop it down, and then actually get into the bigger screen as well. It is just really exciting, and we've already said Microsoft's on board. I want to see Nvidia come on board and say that as well. It's just great. I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think this is, you're going to be using this where you can't get a signal, where I'll be using this where I can't get a signal, and I think that's where my use case is going to be. And I'm just hoping people will get tempted into playing these different types of games out there and then experience them in the bigger screen, because it is. I know they'll get laughed at because it's technically not 720, but it's basically a 720 screen you're going to be playing it on. It's not going to be high detail, and you probably want to get some of these games into the big TV.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing to remember is, well, you know, with a 7-inch screen, whether it's, yes, you might kind of, to a point, if you've got a good eye for detail, you'll notice that pixel per inch difference if you were to kind of change the resolutions. But in reality, a 7-inch screen for most people kind of running just short of 720. How many people really are actually going to be picking bones and splitting hairs over, oh, I'm missing a bit of detail here, I'm missing a bit of detail there, it's not 1080? Because fundamentally, you're not going to, personally, your average player probably isn't going to really be able to pick that up on a 7-inch screen, because you've got to have a real attention to detail to kind of pick it out.
It is a lot harder to notice, you know, since you're dealing with such a small screen. Like, you got to think for like like those 4K phones, like those are some really tiny pixels. But I think you'll be able. You can tell if you really look close. But most people, if they're just gaming, I don't think they're going to really notice that much.
Agreed. And I think when you look at if you look at the price points they've hit and what they've packed into that, I mean, if we consider that they've got Zen 2, RDNA 2 in there, and you've effectively got what is essentially, in its own right, a pretty powerful handheld device at that price point that they are hitting, you kind of feel that it's, they've balanced to kind of get the priorities in order to to kind of deliver a performance from it. Yes, you could argue they probably could have put a 1080 screen in there. They probably could have put a 4K screen in there. But as soon as you start doing it to that level of compact in a 7-inch screen, the production cost will go up, which then means the price that you're going to be paying is a damn sight more. And you've got to question that difference of what you're noticing. And then if the cost goes up, are people then going to invest in it? Are they going to kind of jump in it? And it's, I mean, from me personally, one of the other things I was going to say is, as we've gone more to having these conversations about the possibilities of obviously what it can do in its own right as a piece of technology, then combined with the cloud, like there's an element of me that's kind of almost feels Game Boy-ish about what it could potentially be achieving in the gaming space. I remember back in the early 90s having the first Game Boy, and it was a game changer because you had your 8-bit console that you could kind of play on the TV, and then you had your grayscale screen that you were carrying about. And I guess I really kind of see almost a new iteration, a new generation of what the Steam Deck is bringing, with that kind of almost that kind of impact, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, Polaris sucks. Yeah, this is going to be the big hurdle for no matter what cloud services out there, because the mobile phone or cellular plans out there vary from country to country and from provider to provider. And we have, lucky enough in the UK, we have so many different providers, and many of them have unlimited access for buttons, basically like £25 a month, which is about $30 a month. We have unlimited 5G coverage for some providers. And I know in the States and Canada, that is nearly the complete opposite, where it's complete another extortion, nearly the prices of it. For me, I think internet access is nearly a human right now. It's everybody needs to have it at a reasonable sort of cost. And I really hope that you guys out there start to get proper internet sort of pricing and unlimited data and all that sort of carry on. Maker, what's it like for you out there for cellular? What's your? I know it varies from state to state and everything over there.
Before I didn't really have a lot of data, but I recently got unlimited data. I do think that those options are becoming cheaper because you're seeing a lot of people use a lot of data.
Okay. Sean, thank you very much for the super chat. Now, Barry, you can say something. You're giggling away there. You can say something. You're better at this sort of stuff than I am.
No, I was just going to say thank you. You know, these kind of things are obviously, you know, they're a recent thing on our channel, but, you know, we appreciate everybody that kind of, you know, throws these things our way. You know, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're enjoying the content, and we appreciate your support.
Indeed. I'm just really, really excited about this and just the possibilities. I've been talking to Barry and others there. I'm starting to pick up games on Steam in preparation nearly for the Steam Deck because I know I'll want to play it when it comes. And the vast majority of them I'm picking up because they're on GFN as well, because it's, I just think it's going to work hand in hand in my case. I know I'm going to be playing that on that and then just do it. But is there any games you think are going to be specifically suited to the Steam Deck? That's got you thinking, hasn't it? I'm going to say this. I'm going to annoy people here. Steam, I'll actually bring this up when you are answering the question. They've actually put a video up highlighting some games, and guess what? One game they've highlighted with the touch controls. Slay the Spire. Yes, Slay the Spire.
Oh dear.
Is there? So Barry.
I am going to go with. It's a game. I actually think it would be well suited. I know we've been talking about kind of indies, and I hope it's one that kind of does get support. I actually think Vesper would look great running on a Steam Deck, because it's a beautiful looking game, kind of regardless of where you are, where you are running it. It does look beautiful, but I think kind of, utilizing the inbuilt hardware, if you were running that locally, I actually think it's perfect for that kind of that setting of that 7-inch screen and everything that comes with it. I think it would look brilliant, and it's a great game.
What about you, Maker? For
me,
I was going to say, or does Slay the Spire?
Slay the Spire would be a really good one. Those the ones that touch would be super easy to use, would be fantastic. I just saw Transistor. Transistor would be a great one for it. For me, it's going to be a lot of indies and maybe some of the big AAA titles that I'm able to play on it. The Ascent.
Ooh,
that would
be great. Good one. Yeah,
but I've got it on Game Pass, so see that's where Game Pass comes into play. Where if I can install my Windows 10 onto it, it would be phenomenal for me. But I do have a really large Steam library, so I'm looking forward to utilizing a lot of those. I believe Valheim works on it, which I think would be a really fun one to kind of mess around and explore through. But that's just me. I would use it mostly for kind of like my Steam indie titles that I get on sale.
Yeah, just going. Yeah, Slay the Spire, absolutely.
I was just going to say, I could see the smile on your face at getting it in twice in the loop.
Yes, absolutely. You cannot beat Slay the Spire. With that, I can just see myself. Even though you can play the big, massive games there, which we've seen, I think I would be picking up a lot of the smaller indie games. You mentioned Vesper. Game I'm going to be talking about on Thursday, Faraday Protocol. I think I'd be class in that. Again, there's just so many of these games out there which are perfect for that. going back to Maker's point here, I think a lot of people maybe don't realize is EA Play is on Steam. We've seen a game there in Jedi Fallen Order. You can play that on the go on that as well locally, and I think it would look pretty damn nice as well. And you can pick up EA Play for $20. What's it in the States? Is it $25 in the States for the year, or is it 30
for EA Pro?
Just the mini version, once you can get them in Steam.
I am unsure.
27, 28 quid if the exchange rate works out about right.
Yeah. But again, that is going to open up a lot of doors. So you've got the EA back catalog for £20, $25 a year, and you can bring that on your go.
I know EA Play, I believe, is $5 a month, so it should be $60 for a year for the.
Yeah, but I think that could be really tempting for people, and then you get FIFAs and your things that are on. Again, there's just so much there. Thanks, Cloudbusters, for joining us, and Tyler as well. Overwatch, I know, Tyler, you love Overwatch. So yeah, that would be class, getting the Blizzard launcher on there and getting that going. But it's really... I think this is in a real good spot in terms of cloud gaming, and I think it's going to be the perfect supplement to it and actually maybe expand it out. Is there anything else you want to add in this? No.
I think touching on what you've just said there about being in a good position, portability is a thing that we know is mobile gamers portable. It's becoming more accessible to all of us. So you do kind of feel like, in terms of a timeline, it's kind of coming in at the right point in that trajectory as kind of things are sort of ramping up, and kind of people are kind of making a song and dance to the fact that they can game in a more portable way. Obviously outside of the Switch, of course, because people have been able to do that on the Switch for a while.
Maker, anything you want to add?
I'm interested to see what kind of apps are going to work with it. Like, I know there's a Linux-based Epic Games launcher that you can download and run. So that to me would be really big, because I'm planning to get Kenna Bridge of Spirits on Epic Games Store, and that'll be really nice to see if that runs fine. And I do have several titles through the Epic Games Store, the free games each kind of like week or two. It's great. So that's what I'm most interested to find out and mess with. I'm definitely going to use it a lot, regardless of the fact it's because I've got like 500 plus Steam games. But I'm excited to get my hands on it and actually see what I can play and do, because that'll really determine what games and what I'm going to do with it once I first get it.
Yeah, we've got a good question in here, and where is it? Do you think it's a great price, Barry?
I think I know I kind of maybe touched on this at the start. I think the variety of entry points that they've got, I think they strike the notes in each of those different areas. So if kind of having the absolute best is your kind of thing, that 569 price in the UK, I think is perfectly acceptable. It's bang on, as equally as it is at the entry point of the scale with the 64 gig with the with the flash memory. I think the way they've priced it exceptionally well. And I think what you'll probably find is, could be wrong, but I think you'll either go entry level or you'll go top. I don't think that's just how I see it anyway. I think the middle option is kind of a halfway house, but I'm not necessarily sure that'll be the route that people take. I think they'll either go entry or top.
Yeah, I've just got Linus on in the background. He is actually talking about it. He's got a video up about this. He's got early access to it because I know that there are a lot of people were talking about Linus and maybe having a look at it. He has already played it and he's pretty much a fan of it. Maker?
Price point wise, I think it's really solid. Like it's a really good deal. Like especially if you consider it's nearly twice as powerful as the Switch and is only like $100 extra. US side, I think it's a pretty good deal. But I do think you're either going to go in at the low option or the high option. That middle option,
Maker agrees.
I mean, like 256 gig isn't bad, but if you want to run a lot of your games, you're gonna grab that, spend the extra money, and get all the nice little things. Anyways, that's my opinion.
I think the price point is interesting. I think that they have already said they're making a loss on it. Or not a loss. They're pricing it competitively and things like that, but basically means they're making a loss on it just to get it out there. They're trying to get this as a new device, and they're trying to get people hooked into things and all that and into the ecosystem. I think the pricing is good. If for me, I would go and watch some of the videos that are out there. You've got Linus, you've got The Verge, have done some as well. There's an absolute load of them. It's different in opinions of it. Some people are enjoying the full price, the most expensive one with the extra thing in the screen. Other people are not liking the screen in the most expensive one because it actually takes away some colors and at some angles. So it is definitely worth looking at. I think all the price points have their merits, but with the expandable storage, I think that just opens the door up for everything. So if you do go for the cheapest one, you can just go out and buy another SD card, and the SD cards are relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things. So there's just so many options out there, and I'm just really, really excited about this, and I can just see how I will be playing this in the future. It's just class.
On stream, probably, knowing you.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say if you're not super, like if you're kind of casual, I would definitely get the cheapest option. Like if you're not gonna try and run like super intensive games that you want super fast load times, like let's say Red Dead Redemption 2, you probably want the one with more storage space, because with an SD card, it's not gonna run it's not gonna load as fast, or maybe run as smooth for some of these more intensive games that might have to pull more data. So that's a thing to really look into. But I think if you're a casual player, you're not going to really notice too much. Or like if
yeah. Okay, I think we will end this here. If you like what you're saying here and you want us to do some more of these Steam Deck conversations, we were more than happy. We could go speculation. We can do big games, what we want to see on it, and what games we think are going to be perfect matching it down the line. It is just. I think this is one of the most exciting things to come out in a long time, maybe in a couple of years since the cloud sort of kicked off. But it's just going to be an interesting watch, and it's getting real good reviews out there by and large by most of the major sites, and the people have got their hands into it. Okay, that's us then.
No, and I think that's good to see. Because I think with a product like this, when somebody does something like this, I think there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of attention, and there's a lot of expectation, anticipation. So to see people who have got it in their hands talking about it positively, that just for me gives me a degree of comfort that they have done something as special and as spectacular as it kind of looks on paper. or on screen, I should say, not paper.
One thing I did want to mention, just because it's being said around in the chat, I used to own several gaming laptops, and yeah, you can get some really good gaming laptops pretty cheap. But I will say, for me, having that convenience of something that's effectively handheld a lot, I think it hits a different market. I used to have those gaming laptops, used to lug them around, and after a while, I just kind of stopped buying them, because either they do have some kind of lightweight ones, but they're going to be significantly more heavy than the Steam Deck for sure. And that's one to watch out for. So for me, a Steam Deck fits me because I'm not going to be trying to run the most graphically intensive game on it. And if I am, it's probably going to be through the cloud. And that's why I would say it really depends on who you are or what you want. Like if you want to play those super intensive games and you want to run it at the best possible thing and you don't care about portability, like just walking around and playing it, or even like sitting on a bench and playing it, then yeah, grab a gaming laptop if you're not going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. But we will end it there. I think by the looks of things, we're getting lots of, we want more of these. So we'll have a wee talk internally and see what we can actually come up with, because I don't want us to do lots of these videos and it's not out for another 3 or 4 months. And that's even if we get it in first, if we're lucky enough to get one of the first ones in their hands. But we will get this going in the future. So thank you all for joining us, and we will catch you in the next one. And happy 40th birthday to that agent in the chat. Yes, 40. I know he looks about 60, but he is only 40. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.